Amidst the smoke and flames of war, where bombs rained down on rooftops and street corners, there remained flickers of light, pure and innocent like a child's smile in a field of fire. And in the stream of modern Vietnamese poetry, there is one small figure who stirred the hearts of millions. Luom, the brave and innocent messenger boy in the poem of the same name by poet To Hu. He carried no sword, wore no armor. Luom was just a boy of 12 or 13. Slender in build, walking briskly with a messenger's cap on his head and a mailbag slung over his shoulder. Yet behind that small frame was a courageous heart, a fierce love for his country, and a bright belief in the promise of peace. Luom is not merely a poetic character. He is a living symbol of Vietnamese childhood during the brutal years of war, at once naive and extraordinary. With simple yet deeply emotional verses, To Hu painted a portrait of Luom not just through imagery, but through life itself. His smile, his voice, his running figure, and even his heroic death, so that in the hearts of readers, Luom does not die. He still flies through the streets like a little angel of the resistance era. Luom's appearance, the image of an innocent boy amidst war. When thinking of Luom, what lingers first in the reader's mind is not a majestic hero armed with weapons, but a small, innocent, and bright-eyed boy, like a wildflower blooming amid a land torn by bombs. His appearance, as depicted in the poem, is familiar, vivid, and poetic, evoking both affection and a deep, choking emotion. Luom is a young child, slender and tall for his age, thin but agile and full of energy. Amid the streets of Hue, he appears like a gentle breeze, as quick and tiny as a warbler, a unique comparison that captures his lively, mischievous spirit and vibrant presence. His running stride is not heavy or rushed. On the contrary, it is light, nimble, darting through roads ablaze with war. Watching Luom run, one doesn't just see a boy on a mission, but a fragment of childhood soaring across a sky of fire and smoke. On his head sits a tiny, slightly tilted military cap, graceful yet meaningful. It isn't a fashion piece, but a symbol of a young soldier. That little cap shines like a small halo, representing the responsibility he carries. Slung over his shoulder is a mailbag, not heavy, but filled with critical information, a part of the war effort. That bag is not merely a tool for the mission, but a symbol of courage, patriotism, and the trust that adults place in him. Luom's face radiates brightness and purity, with a cheerful smile, rosy cheeks, and round, sparkling black eyes full of mischief and intelligence. His features still seem to carry the scent of the countryside, the chalk dust of school, the laughter of children interrupted too soon by war. Every time he smiles, a dimple appears on his cheek, so innocent and endearing. He even whistles as he walks, light on his feet, his spirit soaring as if unaware of the death lurking all around. Luom does not wear the full uniform of a grown soldier, just a simple, slightly oversized outfit, sometimes stained with mud and sweat, but on it glows a rare, heroic aura. This contrast between a childlike figure and an immense bravery makes his image both unforgettable and haunting. That little boy may be small among the chaotic streets, but he stands tall in the hearts of millions because of his pure, resilient beauty. It can be said that Luom's appearance is not merely a physical description, but a poetic and realistic symbol of the beauty of Vietnamese childhood during wartime, where thin, sunburnt, seemingly fragile children were the silent heroes who created miracles amidst the fire and bullets of war. Character and virtues of Luom: innocent like a child, resilient like a soldier. If Luom's appearance evokes an image of a lovable, bright, and innocent boy, then his personality and inner qualities shine with heroic virtues that move and inspire readers. Within that small frame, Luom carried a great heart, the heart of a true soldier, though he was still very young. The first thing that leaves a deep impression on readers is Luom's innocence and cheerful spirit. He wasn't a hardened, emotionless soldier, but a true child, pure, full of life, and playfully mischievous. His image, whistling joyfully, running swiftly through the streets, makes us think of a little bird soaring freely across the sky. The way he spoke to the poet, "I'm a messenger. It's fun, uncle," feels like a sincere, childlike confession, expressing his delight at contributing to the resistance effort. Yet behind that innocence was an extraordinary sense of responsibility. Luom wasn't just happy to run and play, he was proud to be entrusted with a task. Being a messenger during wartime was no easy job. It was dangerous and could cost one's life at any moment. Still, he embraced it with passion, throwing himself into his mission, crossing the streets under a rain of bombs without the slightest sign of fear. His courage didn't stem from recklessness, but from a deep, genuine love for his country. Luom also showed agility, intelligence, and quick thinking in every action. As a courier, every step, every glance, every decision demanded alertness and precision. And yet, he, a mere child, performed this duty with the skill and professionalism of a seasoned soldier. Such traits don't come by chance. They are forged through hardship, through self-reliance, and a noble ideal of life. Moreover, Luom possessed a pure soul full of affection. He loved life, loved his comrades, loved his work, and most of all, he lived in harmony, gently and closely connected to others. His polite and friendly manner of speaking to the poet revealed the simple goodness of a child raised with love and discipline. But perhaps the noblest quality Luom left for future generations was his bravery and spirit of self-sacrifice. He fell while on duty, a sudden, heartbreaking death, yet full of pride. No one had time to say goodbye. But Luom's image forever lives in readers' hearts as a powerful testament to the youth of Vietnam who dared to rise for independence and freedom. Luom was not afraid of death. He only feared the letter would not be delivered, that his mission would be left incomplete. And because of that, his death does not fill us with sorrow, but with respect and quiet tears. In conclusion, Luom is the embodiment of two seemingly opposite traits, childlike innocence and unwavering heroism. In him, we see the perfect beauty of a great soul in a small body, a little flower that releases a powerful fragrance amidst the battlefield of the nation. Background: origins of Luom, an ordinary boy with a great ideal in his heart. Luom, the young messenger who has moved generations, did not come from any remarkable background. He was not the son of a hero or a revolutionary official. He was simply an ordinary boy, born and raised in the poetic city of Hue, where every brick and tree bore the marks of war. And it is precisely this simplicity that makes Luom even more admirable. For from such a modest, everyday life sprang a courageous heart, full of ideals and a deep love for the homeland. In Tohu's poem, Luom's background is not described in detail. We don't know how many siblings he had, what his parents did, or which neighborhood he lived in within the ancient capital. But that very absence makes Luom's image more universal. He represents millions of Vietnamese youths during wartime. Children from villages, towns, mountains, or deltas, all carried within them a spirit like Luom's. Though poor and small, their hearts overflowed with faith and noble ideals. Luom was not passively swept into war as an innocent victim. He actively chose to become part of the resistance. He volunteered to be a messenger, a role full of danger, requiring intelligence, agility, and courage. It was not a task just anyone could do, and certainly not a child's game. Yet Luom, matured early by his circumstances, carried out this duty with complete seriousness and passion. Living amid war, with constant material hardship and danger, forged in Luom a resilient will and a steel-like spirit no less than that of seasoned soldiers. Despite his young age, he already understood the value of freedom and independence, and knew that his sacrifice was necessary for a future where the nation could bloom. Luom also symbolizes a generation of Vietnamese children whose peaceful childhoods were stolen by bombs and bullets, yet who refused to surrender. These children did not live passively in fear, but stood up and contributed to the revolution with their small feet, small hands, and burning hearts. Luom was one of those flowers blooming in the trenches, fragile, yet proud and full of strength. The simplicity of Luom's background makes his image even more beautiful and relatable in the eyes of readers. Without medals, without titles, Luom, with all the innocence and bravery from the most ordinary walks of life, became an immortal symbol of patriotism and revolutionary idealism in the hearts of Vietnam's youth. The symbol and meaning of Luom, the immortal beauty of heroic childhood in Vietnamese poetry. Luom is not merely a character in a poem. He has become a vivid, deeply human, and artistic symbol of Vietnam's revolutionary literature. With a small body but a great spirit, he lives on not only in the verses of Tohu, but also in the hearts of generations of readers as a little angel of a fiery era. First and foremost, Luom represents the beauty of Vietnamese childhood during wartime, innocent yet not fragile, naive yet full of courage. In the harsh setting of the resistance against the French, a boy like Luom should have been going to school, playing with friends, and living in the love of his family. But no, his life was pushed onto a different path by war, and he chose to walk it with full faith and voluntary commitment. His death, therefore, is not tragic or pitiful. It is the fall of a beautiful flower so that spring may blossom for an entire nation. Luom also symbolizes the spirit of the Vietnamese people, resilient, heroic, and rich in ideals born from the simplest things. He carried no weapons, bore no military glory, only a small mailbag slung over his shoulder. But that very ordinariness became extraordinary. He didn't fight with guns, but with his heart, a heart that loved the homeland and willingly sacrificed for a noble cause. He is proof that to be a hero, one doesn't need to be grand, only to fulfill one's duty wholeheartedly, no matter how small it may seem. Artistically, Luom is a unique poetic image, blending lyrical and epic qualities, capturing both innocent beauty and noble tragedy. Under To Hoo's pen, a poet deeply patriotic and masterful in portraying human character, Luom comes to life not just through words, but through the rhythm of life itself. He doesn't speak much, doesn't perform grand gestures, yet every movement, every step, every laugh, every sentence is full of vitality, poetry, and the spirit of a soldier. The image of him flying through the streets is not just a physical description. It is a work of art, a symbol of youth's soul, rising gently and immortally within the heart of the nation. Beyond the poem Luom, his image transcends the boundaries of literature, becoming a spiritual symbol in the lives of the Vietnamese people, a symbol of hope, of the longing for peace, of a life lived with purpose. Amid the material struggles of modern life, Luom's image reminds us of a time when people lived for greater causes, willingly sacrificed for the community, and believed in sacred values like country, freedom, and brotherhood. Luom is not just a little messenger boy from Hue, not just a character in revolutionary poetry. He is a small flame quietly burning in the heart of the nation, a flame of patriotism, of youth living for ideals, and of an immortal beauty born from the most fragile things. Luom's death, a tragic and heroic ending. It is no coincidence that Luom brings tears to readers' eyes, though he was just a small boy from Hue. Not merely because he carried the fragile figure of a child who hadn't yet grown up, not just because he should have been at the age of play and laughter, but because his death, so sudden, so silent, holds a tragic beauty, rich in epic quality without being dramatic or exaggerated. Luom fell while carrying out his duty, on the path of delivering messages, amidst bombs and the thin line between life and death. No one was beside him, no one could call him back, and there were no last words like in a novel, only the heavy clump of earth resting on his back. Through the pen of To Hoo, that image doesn't bear the hue of mourning, but is filled with sacredness, quiet, yet deeply stirring. He died like a broken-winged bird in the sky, yet that bird left behind a glimmer of light in the heart of the motherland. Luom's death does not carry the weight of sorrowful lamentation. To Hoo does not cry out with wailing words, but gently portrays the pain with profound reverence. So that was the end. You entered the boundless silent realm. Luom, are you still there? Why does the wind sound like your laughter? These are not cries of grief, but a tender calling from someone embracing the memory of a tiny yet great soul. That death is heroic and humane. It does not leave only loss, but ignites a flame of faith, of unyielding spirit. From an ordinary child, Luom became immortal in the hearts of the people. The image you still seem to fly through the streets is a hauntingly beautiful verse. It is not merely metaphorical. It feels as though To Hoo could still see Luom's soul, his smile, his quick footsteps lingering in the streets of Hue, in the afternoon breeze, in the sunlight, in the hearts of the people. Luom did not die. He lives on in memory, in stories, in the whistles of the children after him, like a little angel watching over the nation. That death, therefore, surpasses the limits of an individual. It becomes an eternal symbol of noble sacrifice, of a life lived for others, of patriotism that knows no age. In an era where many still fear loss and sacrifice, Luom's death is a gentle yet profound reminder. To live is to love, to give, to dedicate oneself, even if only as a child, a small bird in flight. Through the image of Luom, the small yet heroic messenger boy, in the poem of the same name by To Hoo, readers are transported back to the arduous yet glorious years of the resistance war, where the beauty of Vietnamese childhood shone amid bombs and flames. From his agile appearance, innocent face, to his brave character, deep sense of responsibility, and tragic yet noble death, Luom emerges not just as a poetic figure, but as a noble symbol of the Vietnamese youth during wartime. Children raised in poverty but carrying great hearts, willing to sacrifice for their country. Luom did not speak grand words, nor perform heroic feats, yet it is precisely his simplicity, honesty, innocence, and courage that make his image live on in the hearts of readers. He is not a legendary hero, but a real-life one, a child from the people, carrying faith, love, and high ideals until his very last breath. With Luom, poet Tohu'u was not only writing about a child, but about an entire generation, a spirit, an immortal anthem of the Vietnamese people in wartime. And because of that, the image of Luom has become one of the most touching and iconic figures in revolutionary literature, so that every time we mention him, our hearts are filled with boundless respect, pride, and sorrow.